All right, guys. Good morning. I just wanted to say hello, and my name is Amanda Craddock, and I'm here with my sculpture class. We are zooming in with artists Amber and Jonathan Perrodin. I would like to thank Teen Action Support Center for helping us. Hold on just a second. I think we got it. I just want to make sure I'm recording. Here we go.
That looks like it.
It shows over here. There's like a record blinking light, so it looks like you are.
All right, I'll just cut it off in the beginning. Okay, so my name is Amanda Craddock. I'm here with my sculpture class, and we're zooming in with artists Amber and Jonathan Perrodin. We're going to focus on Jonathan Perrodin's work today. We're really excited about it. So I just want to thank TASC, that's at Teen Action Support Center. Their mission is to empower teens to take action in their own lives and community, and we're just really thankful for them setting this up. And this is the second in a series of TASC talks that we're doing, and it's just really exciting opportunity to bring these artists that are local into our classrooms and get to talk to them, and we are just super thankful. So Jonathan, thank you for being here today, and Amber, thank you for being here as well. So really excited to get to see you. So let's just go ahead and get started with the presentation.
All right, sounds great. So I'm Jonathan Perrodin, local artist here. I've lived in Northwest Arkansas between Fayetteville and Springdale for 25 years now. Graduated from Fayetteville High School and the U of A. I'm kind of multidisciplinary. I got a degree in philosophy, so I like to read a lot of books, and all my art is has a certain kind of conceptual aspect. There's a story behind it all. So let's just jump right in. Oh, there's my contact info there. If you can find me on Instagram or email, or you can look at my website for some more of my work. So.
There'll be a little.
So where do we start? Well, curiosity is a great place for us to start, because it is the fuel that drives our creative work. So as you see, these are some of my works that I've done in the last couple years, and these were all kind of just things that I was just playing around with. I wasn't ever really sure what they were, but I had fun doing it. And so curiosity. So yeah, you want curiosity. How does that happen? Well, you show up every day, and you just use what you have. So this piece that I'm showing you on the left here, You Are Enough. This is a collage that I did last year, and it's just like a collection of, so when COVID started, taking walks, I saw there was this like bundle of local magazines. The Idle Class was like an art magazine, and it was like a bundle of 20 or whatever, and it was sitting there for like a week or two. And so I'm like, I'm just going to pick this up, and brought it home and just started like cutting out. So all the blue green is like from the cover, and just different parts of it. And so it took probably 6 months to do, and it was kind of just a thing that I was working on the side when I needed a break from other stuff. So practicing daily is about just showing up without any kind of preconceived notions, and then just using what you have, not saying, well, I need to do this, or I need to go to the store to buy that before I can start. Just like start with what you have today, pencil, paper, whatever, like, and so also like, don't be afraid to grab some new skills. Back in 2017, kind of because I was jealous of a friend that had welded, and I was always asking him to do things for me. I took a class at NTI, which is really close from downtown. It's right off of 265, across from the airport. And I took a night class with a buddy of mine. It was real low stress, no tests or anything, and we had fun. And I learned how to weld from like 10 weeks. 2019, I became a certified master naturalist, which means I took a bunch of classes on the weekend and learned about everything from plants and geology to mammals and reptiles and birds. I mean, everything. And it really got me excited about this idea of trying to merge art and nature and how exactly to do that. So with these two elements, this is kind of where this sculpture project came from. So so when you're in that inquiry, when you're trying to follow your curiosity, and there's no wrong or right answer when it comes to curiosity. It's just like what just follow the rabbit trails. And how do you do that? Well, you need to start learning to listen to yourself, to the inside voice. And so you're going to need to create that space and the time to do that so that you can be looking and listening. And then once you start to cultivate that, you'll see how you can keep going deeper and deeper. The eye of the artist is penetrating. You have the ability to look deeper than most people, and that's kind of a skill that you have to then cultivate and to enrich that. And part of that is to cut out the noise. So give yourself an hour, 30 minutes or more. Start easy and put your phone in the other room, put it on silent, turn it off or whatever, and just sit in the uncomfortable boredom. And I promise you, if you can do that for 30 minutes, things will start to bubble up. Things will start to be like, oh, well, I could do this or I could do that. And maybe it's not a complete idea, but it's like, well, I have a blank canvas. Maybe I'll put some, this like nice pastel yellow as a background. And that's like the step you take today. And that's the only step. And you don't know where it's going, but then you show up again the next day and maybe it's, outlining something on it. And so you have to learn to trust this process and that you don't know what the final outcome is, but process is about the process. And so you just have to like lean into that you're going to show up and that something's going to come out of that. So for me, I back in the summer of 2019, I was doing that, following a lot of different curiosities, one of them being math and especially like geometry and this idea of like sacred geometry and how that is found in nature so much. Just trying to like wrap my head around it and just really just appreciate it and understand just for myself. And so I ended up like making a bunch of paper deal figures out of these shapes just to start with. And then I kind of came to that I liked this specific one, which is called a square antiprism. And so you can see it has a square on the top, which is where the name gets it from, with these triangles that go around the side. There's 8 different triangles on the side. So if you see, this sculpture here is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those that I just stacked on top of each other and welded together and then stuck on a rod, on a square base. And also like these were just leftover materials that I had from a previous project. And so I wasn't going to the store to buy new things. I was just using what I had to like kind of work out an idea. And when I got to this step, when I had this finished, I still didn't know what it was or what it was supposed to, like where it was going. And so it sat for, I don't know, 4 months, 6 months, something like that. Amber really wanted it to go at the house in the front yard. And as much as I like that idea too, it wasn't what it wanted. And so we waited together. And in the process of waiting, this call for art proposals in the city of Bentonville came up. And there's a lot of opportunities for all different types of art. And so you kind of always have to be watching because not all of them are going to fit you. So, but this one was very open, very flexible. And so it was like, oh, this is an opportunity that I don't want to pass. And so I really just started focusing and listening to figure out what I could do for this. So that meant like doing some research, that, you know, looking at the committee, like who's on the committee, what kind of projects have they approved in the past? Like what are, you know, trying to figure out what they're looking for. Part of this proposal specifically was open to any public space in the city that the city owned. So that meant I had to figure out the location, which is perfect for me because the type of work that I want to do is site specific. And so it was thinking about, you know, how that site would affect the work and how they work together. And then, but you know, I still didn't really know what I was doing until I came to till we found this spot at at Lake Bentonville. And it is kind of part of the greater Osage Prairie area, which kind of goes from all the way from like East Rogers to west, all the way through Bentonville to Centerton. If you travel north and you go through the hills and then you just come up onto this flat area, that's the Osage Prairie. And so once that kind of, these pieces started to come together, it's like, oh yes, this is about like a native prairie. The same time that this is all happening, I'm taking walks around my neighborhood, and one of the landscaped areas by the city had some of this prairie blazing star, which I'll show you a picture of in a minute, that I was like, oh, wow, this sculpture that I made that I didn't have any idea of what it was is really very closely and similar to this plant. And so like I have a sculpture and I have a plant, and I'm like, oh gosh, this is what it is. So it was it's kind of like a, you know, a flower just slowly opening. And so, you know, part of that was like, well, so, okay, I've got one flower that I want to plant. What do I need to put with that? And so then, you know, looking at prairie plants and what, there's a thing called companion plants that, you know, these are like plants that like to be together, that they thrive in an environment together. So just looking at all of that kind of stuff, obviously you're going to have to like consider materials and like trying to find the best place. Trying to buy metal online, while it's very convenient, is extremely expensive to ship. So I had to like, you know, source that kind of thing. And then installation requirements, just kind of figuring out what I needed for the specific location. So here's a close-up of the prairie blazing star. It is actually, so you see all of these things, these are all little flowers. It's actually a collection of flowers, you know, a whole bunch, hundreds of them. And so my, you know, these stacked antiprisms kind of created an abstracted form of that plant, with the stalk of the plant being this kind of, you know, square base that I had done that. And so these things kind of started slowly coming together, and I kind of started to see how everything kind of fit together. Here is the what the proposal looked like from kind of the start. I love using paper to start with. It's so much easier to just get it down really quickly without having to mess with all of the frustrations that can happen when you're trying to put things into the computer. So it went from this to the left, and then it came to this. So you see here we have this nice rendering, which is really like, this used to be a lot harder than it is today. We, did all of this on an iPad. And so we took some good photos of different angles of this one sculpture we had, and, did the magic computer work on it, cut the background out, made it look, made some taller, some shorter, the room down on a photo that we pulled off the internet. And so you see how, like, this, you start here and it's not very presentable, but you keep working at it and working at it, and you get to this where you put as much effort into your presentation of your art as the art itself, because this is the first impression that people see when they're looking at your proposal. So you want it to look good. Yeah, so connecting to the prairie, why are native plants important? They are the pollinators of the pollinating plants. The invasive plants, the bees, they don't like them. The things that have come from Asia that are taking over, the birds don't eat the stuff, and so they're not like good food sources. So native plants are important because they are the base of the rest of the ecosystem. They have robust root systems, and so they help with erosion. They are naturalized to this area, so they're used to the hot summers and the cold winter, the dry seasons. They know all of that. Here's a list of some plants that you could use for your project. These are some like great ones to start with. They're very strong, robust, and very forgiving, especially with like drought stuff, which is kind of an issue going through the summer at school. Also, and I'll send this link, this presentation to Ms. Craddock, so you can have all of this. Here's a link to wildflower.org, is a great resource. You can search any of these plants on there and it will give you like pages of information about them. Also, another thing to get some more context about the Osage prairie, here's a great short article that a couple people did from the Northwest Arkansas Audubon Society. So here's a link for that you can grab later. So here's the photo while we're in the middle of installation. You can see it was really muddy. That was kind of a thing. There's installation day. There's always going to be something that's going to, cause you to stress that you have to kind of work with and just, be flexible. So we got over 50 plants put in the ground. I'm really excited for the spring so we can actually see them come up. They're all perennials, and so they will bloom every year and come back every year, and they will self-seed and grow and expand and hopefully fill up the whole area within a few years. A couple more photos you can kind of see on the right there. That's after the city had put mulch down. Yeah, so if I had a message, it would be that nature isn't separate. Life is happening all around. And so that was the goal of trying to integrate and pull the idea of nature into the art, so that it was not really clear where it started and where it stopped. The plants are just as much a part of the installation as the metal pieces for me. So what are some of these concepts that I'm working with? So here's another piece of work that I've done in the last few years. These are pieces of leather, cow hides that I had found in an abandoned house that was kind of a hoarder's house. It was all kinds of wonderful stuff. And I'd sat on them. Once again, I'd sat on these things for so long. And then one day this idea just came. And so you can see here, there's this like tension, literal tension between man as this like steel structure and nature with this organic twine and leather. And so with these metal sculptures, you know, the evolution and change, how the plants are going to grow and change and shift, and through the seasons they're going to change. It's pointing at this like life, death, life cycle, that things are always shifting and changing. The sculptures themselves are going to start to rust, and that's part of it too, that intentional, just like to show that transformation. And why is that important to me? Well, this wonderful man who's done so much for the Northwest Arkansas community, was vital in saving the Buffalo River back in the 60s and 70s. Kenneth Smith says, so much depends on what we choose to see. So for me, I'm trying to just help people to see something that they might not see otherwise. So as I've kind of touched on already, like this project has everything from horticulture and ecology, geometry, philosophy, art history, the metallurgy, you know, I mean, like there's so much. And yeah, why would you not want to just put as much things that you can within the art? That's I feel like what makes things special is when you can just pack a piece of art with so much symbolism that like it has something for everybody. So here's like some of my influences, people that really like sparked the excitement and curiosity and kind of gave me permission to explore what it was. Because there, you know, art is simply communication. And you know, if you haven't learned a language, you don't know how to communicate in that. And so learning to understand the context, and like people have said things before, and like I'm not trying to say the exact same thing in the same way, but we are part of a history. These are kind of, you know, my influences. So Mark Dion on the right, he is a contemporary artist doing stuff, and I saw this a few years ago, and it really resonated with his taking trash that he was finding and putting it in these beautiful presentations. He has all different kinds of presentations, and his work is really playing on this idea of like, what is a museum, and like how is that being presented, and like what can go in a museum, and all of those questions. And so I've got a few different pieces of art that I made from trash, from like 6 months of just doing the same walk, kind of a loop each morning around downtown Springdale. And then not knowing what it was going to be, just like starting to just like glue stuff on some canvas and like pouring paint on it, burning it, putting a stencil over that, doing this, and it became a thing. And then at one point I was just like, oh, it's done. So the second artist here, Agnes Dennis, she did this beautiful thing in 1982 called Wheat Field, a Confrontation, which who has ever thought of a wheat field as a confrontational thing, which is really just beautiful in itself as a title. And you can see this is in New York City. Behind you, you have Wall Street, Manhattan, all of, you know, all the big money of in the world, you know, is going through those buildings. And she set this wheat field in what was actually it's the Battery Field Park, which is over atop a landfill that was created when they built the Twin Towers. So there's all this symbolism of where it's at, and the, you know, all of the context. If this, you know, you go out to Kansas and you see a wheat field, it's not going to have this this same impact. So her work has always been around this kind of the confrontation. She's a wonderful woman to look into if you're at all excited about this. Another work that really inspired me and is probably most closely related to what I was trying to do is this work by Joseph Boyce. He's a German working in kind of the middle of the 20th century. This was once again from 1982, which is kind of interesting. And it's called 7,000 Oaks, City Forestation Instead of City Administration. So he, if I remember the story right, he got frustrated because his hometown, he wanted to plant a bunch of trees and they wouldn't let him. And there's all this admin, just bureaucracy. So he got around it by doing this art project, which is exactly what I was trying to do. And so you see on the right, there's this collection of these stone pillars in front of this very famous kind of fancy art museum. And he went and planted these 7,000 oaks around the city. I forget how many years it took. It was a long time. And he put one of these pillars beside each one. And so, yeah, so that pile slowly dwindled. So there's like so much happening with this thing. And, you know, these trees are just going to continue to grow and enrich the city. And so this like work becomes so much more rich over time. And in his work, gosh, he has so much weird installation stuff. If you're into like that weird 70s, 60s, like happenings and like weird kind of things, he's like a great person to look at. Lastly, Mary Oliver, who is a wonderful poet. She just passed away a couple years ago, does a lot of nature writing and is really the thing that I put her on here for is because she, in an interview, she talked about how she didn't want to just hit people over the head with what they should be doing or like how they're failing or, you know, just all of the guilt that can so easily happen with, you know, this kind of eco art stuff. But what she wanted to do was to like draw people into the wonder and the beauty and really like hit people's heart so that they love nature, and it then like causes them to like want to act to preserve it. I love Mary Oliver so much that that we got this cat like a year ago, and so I named it Oliver after her. Yeah, so here's we got time for some questions. Here's some questions that I had gotten given to me that we can go through, or if there's anyone else that has a question, I'm happy to answer those.
Okay, so if you want, I have the questions in front of me too. I thought it would be kind of cool if the students could come up to my computer and ask you the questions themselves. Would that be okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So do you mind, maybe we could stop sharing the screen, or
Yep.
would that work?
Oh, yep.
Right, I know. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and have Alondra come on up. I think that this is a new question, so you know, we'll go ahead and have her come up. So just real quick. So my question was, I kind of just thought of it right now, but exactly like how long did it take you to complete the Blazing Star, like to complete it?
Yeah.
You can sit up here.
How long did it take to complete it? Was that the question?
Yeah, so it took well there's two parts. So that initial the first sculpture that I made took like 6 or 8 months. And it was kind of an off and on project because I didn't know what I was doing. And so I'd kind of show up to it when I knew what I was doing. And then it sat for maybe another 6 months or so. And then once this proposal came and I got approved for that, it was probably about 3 months of work to fabricate the sculptures. The original proposal was for 6, and then I always like to just make extra, just so if something messes up, I'm not having to start from scratch. So I ended up actually with 8 at the end of it. But yeah, so all total, it was like close to 2 years.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Emily, do you want to come up and ask a question? But you can sit down if you want to. You want to? You can sit down up there. Yeah, I did.
So my question was, why did you pick the plant instead of another natural plant? And what is special about the plant to you?
Yeah, well, it was kind of one of these where you're reverse engineering it. And so I had the sculpture already, but I didn't know what it was until I saw this specific plant. And so that was that's kind of how it happened. And then once I understood that connection between those two, and I had that kind of symbolism, then I could understand that, okay, I need to have like more than one of these. It needs to be, half a dozen of them in an area with plants around it and things like that. So right now I'm really interested in a lot of different things. One of them that I've been kind of coming back to is the tulip poplar, specific type of tree, and it has this bloom on it that is just really fascinating. And so I'm keep drawing it and looking at it, trying to see what it might become. And I keep coming back to this kind of it's kind of like a sitting area. So it's like the flower is opened up and you're able to come into it and sit, and it's big. But I'm just still kind of ruminating on that. So these things are all kind of in very fluid, and there's not a hard, concrete path for any of it. So you have to be really open and flexible to all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so next up we have Daisy. You can sit down. Okay, just pick up.
I asked if you had any other ideas instead to represent the blazing star, like if you had any other ideas for the plant.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, the tulip poplar, I'm really interested in, and also just like animals are really fascinating to me. Something I didn't mention is while I was doing that master naturalist class, I was doing these like making these on just paint, like on paper, painting these animals that I was interested in, and so it was just like exploring that. And so that part of that was like learning about these animals and like, learning about their habitat and learning how to, and it then creates like a deeper appreciation. The great blue heron is like really like a bird after my own heart. I really love it. There's some that are like always hanging around Spring Creek that goes through downtown. And so I would love to somehow incorporate maybe like making a sculpture of something like that. But yeah, I'm really open to a lot of different things right now.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
All right, so next up we have Bara. He had a question for you. Do you already know it? Do you remember?
I think so, yeah. My question was, what exactly got you so interested in the plant?
What exactly what?
Got you so interested in the plant?
you so interested in plants?
Oh, it's more when I'm a philosopher, and so I like the big picture. And so I'm very interested in like the ecology, the environment of an area, and how not just like a specific plant, but like how all of these plants work together. And so looking at like the macro and the micro has been really fascinating. There's so much depth of intricacies of how things work together. That's what I find most compelling. It's fascinating how, you know, certain butterflies will only eat from a certain kind of plant, and then will only go and make its cocoon to become, you know, to go from the caterpillar to a butterfly. Like that caterpillar will only choose a certain plant, and how interesting that those things are so specific and so important to the environment. And so like all of these plants have a purpose. They're all important. And so there was some like aesthetic choices involved in choosing the ones that I chose for this project to be a part of this, to sit alongside the blazing star. And then also like the pragmatic thing of I was getting these plants last year in the COVID, when everyone's excited about gardening. And so there was like, when it came time to buy the plants, I couldn't find any plants anywhere. And so it kind of became, there was the one plant that I wanted to do that I just couldn't find, I couldn't source. It's called the rattlesnake master, which is a cool name. And it has these little round pods on it that are white. And I really liked how those white pods contrasted the blazing star, which is this kind of like vertical shaft. And it happened to be a companion to the blazing star. So there, my choices in plants that kind of relates to a lot of different things. And so, yeah, just like pick what, like, if, whatever interests you in, like, there's no bad choices to it. Like, they're all good.
Right. So next we have Steve is going to come up and ask the question.
How does the sculpture interact with the surroundings of the Osage Prairie?
How does the sculpture interact with the surroundings of the Osage Prairie?
Yeah, so the site is at Lake Bentonville, and in our research, I came across an NPR, a KUF story that they had done interviewing the director of Parks and Rec about that park, because they were doing this huge renovation on it, and it's a wetland prairie area, and so they were trying to bring it back to a more natural state, and so that area around the sculptures has all kinds of animals. That every time we've gone, it seems like we've had some kind of interaction with a bird or something. Like there's somebody like hanging out around that area. Like they're also curious about about these sculptures, and also the sculptures themselves, like they interact with like the wind, which was something I didn't really think about. I thought they would be just, like just non-moving, but even with 15-20 mile an hour gust, they have like a certain little kind of shimmy to them, and so they're slowly starting to integrate themselves. I really don't feel like this project's going to be complete though for probably another like couple years, when all of those plants start to really grow up, and that's really where it starts to integrate into environment. And also part of the thing, I mean, the title of the work is called A Tribute to the Almost Forgotten Osage Prairie. And so it's like this, you know, the area is growing so much that like the areas of prairie are just little bitty pockets here and there. And so this is only this little just tiny snapshot, a thumbnail of what it could be, or you know, or what it was. Does that answer your question?
Hey, okay, so I have one last question, and this was two students had chimed in with this, and that's what's your favorite artwork you have made? And we just have a couple minutes, and then I'll say our thanks. But so yeah, what is your favorite piece of artwork that you've made?
Yeah, well, I honestly like this one is my favorite. And I think that, I mean, that's probably natural for a lot of artists that like, you know, your old work's old work and you're changed and you're new. And this is like, this is who you are today. And this is the most true representation of that. For me, this project, I was able to like just go all the way into it and not hold anything back because I was worried that it wouldn't fit or into some kind of framework or whatever that. And so I honestly, I am really bad about like just about everything I've made. I really hate. And I get about 80% through, and there's that like one thing that I can't fix. And so I just end up like finishing it and it feels kind of imperfect. And so I'm always frustrated with it. This project, though, I tried to really be conscious of myself in the process of creation, to just be with it, be with the imperfections. I mean, it still has imperfections that are there that I had to kind of make peace with. But being open to that process and just maybe this is part of just growth as an artist, to just finally be like, okay, that like, it's maybe not 100% of what I was idealized of what I was trying to do, but like, it's better than the last thing I did. And I can take what I learned from this to the next project to, oh, that was Oliver passing through. So yeah, like so I guess I'm more excited about the next, it's always about the next thing, because you don't want to stop, because art is like, I really feel like art is just communication. And so, you know, I said a thing, but you know, I've got more things to say.
That's awesome. Well, wow, guys, I'm just so thankful for this opportunity for our students and what it means to them. We've had a lot of good discussions, you know, before this meeting, just looking at your work and thinking about it, and it's just so perfect. We feel really grateful to both of you guys. So I just want to say that is just thank you, and just know that we are full of gratitude for you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting us to be a part of
Yeah.
this.
And thank you too to TASC for kind of helping set up this whole platform of bringing artists in. I appreciate them and everything that they do for teams. And just thank you both. And Amber and Jonathan, thank you for joining us today. We're all done, so we can be done. And I look forward to reaching out to you guys soon. And we may send you a couple of the artist proposals from our class and let you see those.
Yeah.
Stuff going on, but we just appreciate you guys, and we hope you have a great day. And
Thank you.
talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.